Okay, so this is your first chapter, Introduction to Financial Management. So, as a whole, to learn financial management together, first let's break those words finance separately, management separately, and then let's study. Okay, so finance and management. Now, all of you have come across this word finance numerous times, yes or no? Now, we also studied an entire subject in your first semester called as Indian Financial Markets or Indian financial system, IFS, right? Now finance is one of the major elements which activates the overall growth of the economy. Now if you can see for the last 5-6 months how our economy is projecting, how our economy is developing or has been seeing the growth, right? It's been very slow. If you have listened to the recent news of our finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman, she has always mentioned that the growth rate has been slowed down due to the pandemic or due to this entire lockdown period of the last 4 to 5 months period. So what is the result? There is no business activities, there is no financial transactions, there is no cash inflow or outflow much. I wouldn't say it has stopped, but it has reduced over the period of time. So therefore finance is the driving agency or the driving factor for any economy. Finance is the lifeblood of the economy. I'm sure I've repeated this sentence in our class as well, right? As much as for a human body to function actively, blood is important, right? Without blood, can a human body function? No, right? Same way, without finance or without cash, any organization or any economy on the whole cannot function. A well-knit financial system directly contributes to the growth of the economy, which means that when the financial system of a country or of an organization is well placed or it is well organized, then the economy can function effectively. Let's look at the second word. What is management? So in general you can say management, as the name itself says, to manage or to take care or to control. Yes or no? It can be both the ways. You can either control things or a task or a work, or you either can control a group of people, right? A class, a college, etc. So management in general is to manage or to take care. So what does it consist? Planning, organizing, reporting, etc. So these are the two words. Hope you've understood. Finance, what is finance? What is management? Now next slide, let's club it together. What is financial management? It is the process of planning, organizing and controlling the financial resources to achieve the objectives of the company. You got it? Three important words, guys. You need to plan, organize and control. All the three activities are equally important. Number one is what? Plan. How much money do I require to raise? How much money do I need to raise in order to run my business? Is it rupees 10 lakh? Is it rupees 10 crore? Is it rupees 1 lakh? Etc. I need to plan how much do I need. Number two is to organize. Okay, if I finalize to rupees 50 lakh is what I need. Where do I get this 50 lakh? Is it through applying a loan in the bank? Or am I going to put my own savings into my business? Or am I going to have a public shareholding? So I'm going to borrow from the public in the form of equity shares. Yes or no? So these are the ways or the sources where I can raise my capital. Third one is controlling. Now I need to check if I've invested rupees 5 lakh into an asset or into a project, is it giving me promised returns? I need to keep a constant check or a control upon my investments, whether or not it is giving me promised returns. If it is giving promised return, good. You can expand it and diversify it further. If not, you have to remove that investment from that project and diversify it to some other project. So financial management, what is the meaning? A 2-marker question. It is a process of planning, organizing and controlling the financial resources to achieve the objectives of the company. So why is it so important? What is the aim? Why do we need money? What is the importance of finance? Number one is to provide adequate finance. Now let's say in order to run today's production process in the factory, I need amount of rupees 50,000. Okay, I neither need too much nor lesser than 50,000, not less, not more. Adequate, how much ever is required for a day's business to run, for a day's production to run, I need to provide adequate. What happens if we have too much of money? We tend to waste it, yes or no? If we have too less, we tend to give up on lot of things because we don't have enough money to procure it. Second, effective mobilization of resources. Now, effective mobilization means what? Put into the productive usage. Okay, now there are so many salaried employees, yes or no? Now there are so many families with less amount of salary or less amount of cash in hand, they are able to manage their entire household expenses. On the other hand, there are families or there are people who have more number of or more amount of salary or more amount of paycheck in their hands, and yet at the end of the month they always run out of cash. Now, what is the difference between first scenario and second scenario? The first one, or the first family or the first individual, was able to effectively mobilize whatever the money, wherever it is required, there only they have put into use. The other scenario, the second one, they were wasting it. Wherever it was unnecessary, not important, there also they started spending their money. So therefore at the end of the month, they were running out of cash. Same thing happens with a business. If the business in hand, the liquid cash is too much, the company tends to waste it. It will put that money into unnecessary or wasteful resources. So that needs to be avoided. So why is financial management important? To effectively mobilize the resources. Number 3, I already told you, lifeblood of business. Can a body function without blood? No. Therefore, a business or an economy cannot function without finance or cash. Plan for contingency. Right now, this is the best suited example for today's or the current scenario that we are going through, the entire pandemic and the lockdown. Did any of us foresee this? Did any of us even guess that there's going to be a huge impact on the entire world in our day-to-day lives of this sort? Definitely not, right? It is called as contingency, meaning to say it is called as unforeseen event or uncertainty, something that is beyond our control, but we are getting affected by it. So how are organization managing cash flows when there's not much business activities? That means that need to plan their contingency. Now every time you're writing your balance sheet, if you can remember, you always used to write transfer to general reserve, or in your balance sheet on the left side you will write reserve, right? General reserve. Remember, what is that? That is called as plan for contingency. You are taking a part of the profit amount of money to the reserve account, right? Why are you keeping it? Just in order to tomorrow, if there is an uncertain event like this pandemic, how am I able to run my business using this reserves? Got it? Even your parents also, right? They always keep a set of amount or a portion of their salary as reserve or as a savings. Why? To meet emergency situation, emergency circumstances. Same thing is called as for companies plan for contingency. The fifth one, growth of business. Any business starts to meet a target, guys. Do you think any company will start? Let me say I want to reach 1 lakh customers, and then after that I will shut down my company. Does any company have that ideology? No, right? Every company wants to reach out more and more and more. If they have reached 1 million consumers or 1 million customers, they want to reach another million of customers. Yes or no? So that is the reason they want to grow. What is the reason, or what is the essential for the growth of business? Again, it's the finance or money. Money is required for you to grow, diversify and expand your business. So there is 5 different importance: provide adequate finance, effective mobilization of resources, lifeblood of business, plan for contingency, and growth of business. 4 different decisions in financial management. First one, investment decision. Now this is a very important concept. Pay attention. Investment decisions. Now what is this? As the name itself says, invest. Where do I want to put my money into? Right? Either short term or either long term. What is it? Where do I need to put my money into? In which kind of project? In which kind of technology? So in short, I want you to remember the statement. It is purchase or sale of a fixed asset. Now this asset can be a technology, it can be a project, etc. Correct? Investment decision means it is my choice whether or not to invest into a particular asset, or do I want to sell it or do I want to purchase it. Number 2 is financing. Again, one statement I want you to remember is rise or disposal of capital and debenture. Let's break that. What is rise? Rise is nothing but, have you read the question, issue of share capital, issue of equity shares, issue of preference shares? What is it? Basically, you are taking money from the public. That means what? There is cash inflow into the business. That means rise of capital and debenture, issue of debenture, issue of bond. Then also money is coming inside of the business. There is cash inflow. On the opposite side, disposal. Have you heard the word again? Redemption of equity shares, redemption of debenture, redemption of preference share. What is it? You are paying the money back to the shareholders or paying money back to the debenture holders. It is the meaning to be said disposal. That means rising means cash inflow, disposal means cash outflow. So my decision as a management whether there has to be a cash inflow or cash outflow is called as financing decisions. Number 3, dividend decision. Now let's say my profit for the last financial is rupees 100 rupees. Now I decide 30% of that 100 rupees is to go for dividend decisions. That is to pay dividends to my equity shareholders. You remember? So my 30 rupees, 30% of 100 rupees is 30 rupees. So 30 rupees I will be giving out as the dividends to shareholders. The last decision, working capital decisions. It is to maintain liquidity to meet day-to-day expenditure. So day-to-day how to run your business, to meet your small-scale expenditure, to pay stationery, to pay wages, to pay your bills, etc. You need liquid cash. Now here there's a picture depicting here. Can you see the corner picture on your right side? Right, a man is holding a jar where the water has to come, water has to flow out, but there is dollars flowing out. Basically it is diagrammatically depicting the liquidity aspect. Got it? Now here there are 4 major decisions: investment, purchase or sale of fixed asset. I want you to remember these small statements that I put across for your memory. Second is financing decision. Number 3 is dividend decision. Number 4 is working capital decisions. Is that clear? Okay, your next topic is goals of financial management. First goal, why does every business begin or come into existence is to make what? Profits, is to maximize their income, is to multiply their money. So every business, whether small or great, its main objective is to maximize its profits. If I've given 100 rupees, if I've invested into your company, I at least would like 115 rupees to come back to me, some increase in my money. Now here we are going to study, it's a section C question guys, 2 objectives here, 2 goals. They might ask you, explain the goals of financial management. That is profit maximization and wealth maximization. For both these goals you need to explain favorable arguments and unfavorable. Basically you're telling what is the merit or benefit of having profit maximization and what is the disadvantage or demerit of having profit maximization. The first one, favorable arguments, is barometer of performance. Barometer means what? Measure, right? A measure of performance. How do I know whether or not a company is functioning well or performing well? Only reason is what? Profits. When I know that company is making profits, I know that the company is performing well. So if I say Reliance company, Infosys company has made a profit of rupees 1 million or made a profit of rupees 60 million, etc. What do you understand? That the company is able to effectively utilize its resources. Correct? It is the profits is the barometer of performance. Number 2 is economic survival. Can any company survive just by making profits only at the beginning of the year? No, right? every company, in order to survive in the competition or the economy, it has to make profits in order to what? Survive in the market, survive in the economy, or with its respective participants or competitors. Number 3, expansion and diversification. No company wants to stay as a small company. If today I've started a textile shop, or let's say a manufacturing company which produces clothes or manufactures clothes, would I keep a limit to myself that yes, I just want to serve Bangalore, nowhere else? No, right? I always, as an entrepreneur or a businesswoman, I always want to make sure my company from a small scale becomes a multinational company, or becomes a big or a large scale company, becomes the leader of the market, etc. Reason being, I want to expand or diversify my kinds of business. So I started with the textile. Tomorrow I may start with electronic gadgets. Next year I might start with let's say tailoring business, or let's say I start with something with regard to mobile phones or technology. So I'm going to diversify from textile. I'm going to electronic items, then I'm going to grocery items, etc. I'm diversifying my business. In order to expand or in order to diversify, what do I need? Profits. Number 4, attracts investor. As I told, if I tell you world's best companies and they're making profits, so much amount of profits, they're growing over the period of time, will you not be attracted to invest? Yes or no? As an individual or as an institution, we are always attracted towards those companies who make more number of profits. Number 5, maximizes shareholders' return. For this, I want you to remember this statement. Every time you write your balance sheet, you start with your equity, right? Equity share capital. You write always 1 lakh equity share capital at the rate at 100 rupees each. Next line you write 10% 1 lakh preference share at rupees 100 each. Yes or no? Have you noted the statement? What is the difference here is, have you put a percentage for preference shareholders all the time? Yes. But have you noted you have never put a percentage for equity shareholders? Have you noted that, guys? The reason being, the return or the amount or the percentage of return to equity shareholders is never fixed. Okay? Is never fixed. Whatever is the profits remaining with the company after paying interest, taxes, all other expenditure, whatever is left over will exactly equally go to equity shareholders. So therefore, the more number of profits, the more maximum benefit will be enjoyed by whom? Equity shareholders. Now you can ask, ma'am, what about the preference shareholders? Now, as I told, preference shareholders have a limit, 10%. So how much ever profits if I earn, super profits if I earn, or no profits I earn, 10% return for them is fixed. Even if I have more profit, I don't have to give it to my preference shareholders. I can only distribute it to my equity shareholders. So that's the benefit or merit of profit maximization. That is, it is a barometer for performance, economic survival, expansion and diversification, attracts investors, and maximizes shareholders' return. I hope you have understood the benefits of profit maximization. Let's look at the last slide. Unfavorable arguments, or I would say, what is the disadvantages or demerits of having profit maximization? The first one, it is not a clear term. Now, when I mentioned here as a measure of performance, barometer of performance, did you guys think of what kind of profit? Am I talking of earnings before tax, earnings after tax, earnings available to equity shareholders? Is it gross profit? Is it net profit? Operating profit? What kind of profit am I talking about is never clear. You got my point? If I'm saying X company or Y company is having profits as earned profits, I'm nowhere mentioning to you clearly that it is the profits after all the expenditure or before all the expenditure. So profit maximization is not a clear term. Second, it ignores the risk factor. Basically, I'm talking after one entire financial year. On an average, how much money I'm making, I'm reporting it to you in the financial statements. Am I telling you the periodically in the month of April or in the month of July, periodically what is my cash inflow and outflow? No. the time value of money is being ignored when I'm talking about profit maximization. Number 3, short-term planning. When I say profits, I'm only talking about this year, current year profit, current financial year, how much am I earning? That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Currently, today, what is my financial position is only when I talk about what? Profits, not future. I'm only talking about the short-term planning. For the next financial year, my target is to reach 1 million rupees of profit. That's all. I'm just looking for what? 1 year. That means it is a short-term planning. Next, attracts competition, that is to lead to corrupt practices. If I say certain business out of nowhere has lead to so much of profits, there'll be so many other competitors or participants coming to make money by not ethical standards, by making what? Unethical practices, or I would say it is a corrupt practices. Today, if you're looking at the news around, right now, people, in order to earn money or to make money, people today would not even spare to take another human being's life. Yes or no? They wouldn't spare to take another human being's life. Why? Because they will get a huge lump sum amount of money. So that is the question about profits. When I'm saying profits, I'm not mentioning to you from what are the activities through what I'm earning those profits. Not every company is following what? Ethical standards. There are so many companies following what? Unethical standards or corrupt practices. Have you heard about this company, Satyam Computers? That was the first fraudulent company reported in India. Go back and check, do just a homework on that company. The company was putting up a good financial statements, huge number of profits, crores of rupees. But at the end, it was all fake. It was only in the documents, the numbers, but not in reality. Meaning to say, just to attract investors and to fool them, they were falsifying the books of accounts. So basically, they were into corrupt practices. Number 5, induces government intervention. Now, all of a sudden, if a company is having a more number of profits, etc., government will take special attention upon the company. How was this company able to make so much amount of money? What is the company's objective? What is the company dealing with? Who are the people owners of this company, etc.? Is the company paying correct taxes to the government, timely taxes, etc.? So government is going to pay very close attention towards the profits the company is making. Is that clear? So these are the unfavorable or disadvantages of profit maximization. It is not a clear term. It ignores the time value of money. It is a short-term planning. Fourth, it attracts competition, that is leading to corrupt practices. And fifth one, induces government intervention.